Okay, once you have your design drawn out, what you want to do is trace over it with a Sharpie or fine point marker. Cut out the template. Make sure that when you cut your template out that you leave that little tab. This will come in handy when you're taping, securing the design down to your paper as you're tracing it. And then once you've traced over the design on one side with the Sharpie, you want to go ahead and trace over on the back side as well, just so it's nice and dark on both sides. And then you're going to be getting two pieces of paper. One paper, the newsprint, this is going to be for a cover sheet. And then the other paper, this is the paper that you're going to be drawing and painting on. So when you get your papers, you want to put the cover sheet and the watercolor paper, get them lined up, put a little bit of tape, two pieces of tape on one side so that you have a hinge so that you can fold this paper back when you're working on your drawing and put it over and cover to protect your drawing when you're not working on it. Okay, now once you have that on, you're going to be doing some drawing some lines on the back to help with positioning your template. So the first thing that you'll do once you have your papers taped, I'm just flipping over to the back side. You can see the tape right here. This is the side you want to be drawing these lines on. So you're going to draw a line that's going from corner to corner, diagonally one direction, and then corner to corner diagonally the other direction. Once you have these lines drawn, then you're going to just use your template, and at this point you can just fold back that little tab because at this point it will get in the way a little bit, but what you're doing is just positioning the template. You want to make sure that you have the template positioned so that that corner is going right to the point where the two diagonal lines are crossing in the center. And then you're just going to carefully and lightly draw a little triangle like this, and do the same thing over here. Basically, this is just to make sure that everything is fitting correctly before you start tracing your design, because if there's a problem, if something's not fitting right, you want to get that fixed before you're doing all your hard work of tracing. You don't want to find out something's not right after you've already, got halfway done tracing your design. Just want to make sure these are lining up pretty good. And you should have three triangles, three little pizza pie slices in each quadrant. And when you're doing this, you want to use the hard lead pencil, your 6H pencil, and you want to be drawing fairly lightly. Okay, so I'm almost done with this. This doesn't take too long, but this is important because you do want to make sure that you're getting everything laid out well. And the reason we're drawing these lines on the back of the paper is because this way we don't have to worry about ever dealing with erasing them and they actually work best to get the image positioned when you have it on the back side, because that's the side that you're going to actually be taping your template down, so that you can trace it with a light box onto the front side. And one of the fun things I think about this project, one of the things that I think is really neat about this project is that you have this opportunity to develop a design that's really complex, and it's actually not that difficult to do, because you're actually only drawing the design, one portion of the design out once freehand, and then the rest of it is all just tracing and you know, flipping it and repeating. Okay, so now that you have your layout on here, what you want to do is just lightly number, alternating 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, all the way around. And what this is you're going to be, and then what you can even do is you can label on your template, 1 on one side and 2 on the other side. Okay, so if I have my 2 side facing up, I want to set the template into the sections that are labeled 2. Okay, when I have the 1 side facing up, I want to have my template in the sections labeled 1. All right, and this is going to give you a mirror image that will repeat around in a radial design. So we have, this is an example of radial symmetry. Symmetry is when something is exactly the same when it's bisected, and this is radially symmetrical because it's radiating around a central point. All right, so once you have, you're going to just use that little tab to tape your design down, and then you're going to flip your paper over, and we're going to be using a light box. And you want to keep your cover sheet out of the way, because that will interfere with being able to see your design as well. All right, so now is the process of just tracing your design. So very light, you want to trace your design very light. You want to be using your hard lead pencil and doing very light pressure, so that if you make a mistake, you can erase. And this is really the fun part of the project, I think, getting to see what the design looks like as you begin repeating it multiple times. You don't want to rush this. You don't want to draw sloppy. You want to be very neat and careful about your tracing, because if you drew a really, really nice design and then you trace it sloppy, it will not look good. Okay, so I've traced it once, and now what I'm going to do is just continue. So I'm just going to trace all the number 1 positions first, and then I will come back and flip the design over and trace into the number 2 positions. when you're doing your tracing, you want to be really careful. Make sure your hands are clean, and be careful that you're not getting your paper dirty with finger smudges or I don't know, whatever else. And then also be really careful that you don't lean on your paper and create a dent on the paper, leaning on the edge with your wrist. So you want to be careful that you're not creasing your paper as you're drawing. Those are just two things that I see, that I notice from some students who are, maybe a little bit less aware of what they're doing as they work on it. You want to be careful about getting your positioning right. Take your time. Don't just stick it down fast, because if you make a mistake,